Christian pastors love to praise America and praise democracy. And I say democracy, and then everybody online is like, "You idiot, it's a republic." And yes, it's like, I know that, but I'm talking about the structure. But everybody like in the churches love to say America, America, Christian nation. Well, when you look at democracy and you look at the structure, it's the people have the power, and the leadership are servants of the people. So if Christian institutions love democracy, their institutional model should be democratic, but it's reversed. All the power sits in a select few hands. No, especially as the institution gets bigger. You're talking about churches with $100, $200, $300 million a year budgets. The LDS church budget is like $7 billion. So, all that money is managed by anywhere from 3 to 10 people. And then where does all that money come from? The thousands, and for the LDS church, millions of people that attend your church and that are members. So, okay, it's not democracy at all. You're demanding money, usually through threatening salvation, or the video we posted today.
We gotta touch on that one.
But you give your tithes to avoid burning in hell, and so it's coercion sometimes. Wow. It's straight demand, but then all that money flows up the chain and sits in the top. In that single elder board or that single board of directors, and usually sometimes in the non-denominational space, that one pastor or the pastor and his wife get to dictate where sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars go. And so churches are literal authoritarian structures. And it's only getting worse as denominations are dying and non-denominationalism is exploding.
But the system, the big system, the governmental system, like it's a loophole that enables them to
correct
to be that way.
So it's how do you stopgap those loopholes without government intervention? Because no matter how many people on social media yell at us saying, "You guys," someone said you're a government psyop yesterday, and I was like, "Wow." I'm like,
You'd be in a suit, and I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I'm like, really? I'm a government
Usually
psyop?
you can find a Fed pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I am. I don't know.
You're doing a good job psyching people
Where's
out.
Where's my camera? I'm a government psyop. But yeah, it's just funny how people see, bringing solutions and bringing accountability into things is a threat. And it's usually the ones that we're threatening are making money off the system.
So do you find that the non-denomination churches are worse? Like these, are they the mega churches, or is there a specific denomination?
So like the organized, the traditional, like the Presbyterian, the Baptists, the Catholics, there's a lot more governance involved in that. They have a lot more like corporate overhead and accountants and lawyers and structure. Whereas like a lot of these churches, I mean, many family members are the board members, right?
Yeah, non-denominationalism started taking off in the Billy Graham era. And if you know who Billy Graham is, you're one of the first people I've ever met that doesn't know who Billy Graham is.
The name, but
Yeah, Samaritan's Purse here in North Carolina. BGEA, he's got 3 nonprofits here, and 1 church.
And a few jets, a few planes.
So non-denominationalism really took off with him, and he was kind of the first, let's call it, international evangelist, TV evangelist. And so he was on stage with multiple presidents. He is kind of the face of, I would say, American evangelical Christianity, and it was because of him. He kind of simplified the salvation prayer. He basically commoditized and commercialized a lot of the more, personal elements of Christianity. But after him, non-denominationalism exploded. And basically non-denominational churches are their own entity. So there is no outside oversight like denominations have. There is some of them will partner up, but it's the Wild West. It's all based on the charisma of the lead pastor. So like I said, if you're a good speaker, good looking, funny, articulate, if you're a good businessman, you can launch a very successful non-denominational church, and then you have no accountability, no oversight.
Going back to the charismatic pastor speaking, what was the on the video we posted today about like tithing to make sure you're enrolled on God's list?
Oh yeah. If you tithe, well, so that's the LDS church. That's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But yeah, in their doctrines, if you don't tithe your 10%, you fall off basically God's Rolodex, and you can't get into heaven.
Yeah, the words he used in this sermon, if you will, is you'll be unenrolled.
Unenrolled from the book of God or something like that.
And you will not be protected from the vengeance.
From the vengeance.
I mean, you talk about like manipulation, and if you look at like the capital markets just in general, fear is instilled into people. Mm-hmm. People panic, and then that drives their decisions. So I'm going to be removed from, I'm going to be unenrolled as God's child. And then after that, I'm not going to be protected from vengeance. So it's, people freak out and they're like, oh my gosh, take my money. Mm-hmm. Do they ask for, I've heard this before. They ask for people's W-2s.
Yeah. They ask for your tax returns. Yeah.
Yeah.
To make sure you're not lying.
Whoa.
But then the kicker is that organization that you brought up that has, over 100 million in each account. They have amassed 160 billion now, but no one knew that. The church was in the LDS churches. We covered this in a big way in the show because it's very interesting. But the LDS church lied to the SEC, and then they lied to their congregants. And so even though they're demanding a W-2, give me your W-2 so I can make sure you're not lying, they're openly lying to everybody at the same time. And so the sad thing that I see is churches have become the epitome of what they preach you should not be. Mm-hmm. And that's the saddest part of it all.
What was it? What was the, I'm not sure if it was a policy. It just might have been a type of sermon where it was the first few years you do this, it's mandatory. And then after that, it becomes a gift.
Yeah, you realize that you want to give us your money. It's gift. Painful at first, but then you really start liking giving to us.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of clips where they're like, if you are accustomed to $10, try 20.
Yeah.
What about 80? How about 100? Make yourself feel it. And you're like, what if that person can't feed their kids and you're guilting them because you're giving them false promises of a guaranteed abundance that if you sow this seed of $100, you're going to get $2,500. And this one pastor was saying, like they were doing reviews basically from these tithes or these planting of the seeds. And like, how do you know that they didn't just like make that up? And like, Tammy from Ohio, she did this and you can too. I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing. And I get picked on all the time when people say, they ask me what my, I guess, faith is. And I just say spiritual. They're like, oh, make it up as you go. I was like, I don't know that this other thing is a lot better. I'm not sure. There's a lot of parallels. And I think when it comes to like labeling yourself spiritual, it's like I hold myself accountable, and I'm certainly not like amassing all of this wealth and manipulating people and all of like, I don't know. I think I'm doing pretty good with my label.
Well, so that's an interesting concept because Christianity's like plummeting in the U.S. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, spirituality is pacing it. And so people aren't losing this idea of faith or spirituality. They're just over the institutions. Mm-hmm. And this is what's so backwards to me is when I talk to like big pastors or even online, I'm like, do you guys not see that it's your model that might be the problem?
Yeah.
Like maybe take a slice of humble pie, read about humility in your Bible, and then sit down and be like, have we missed the mark? Are we doing something wrong? Because everybody's leaving us, but their faith and spirituality isn't leaving them. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's us. And I'm reading this great book, In the Year of Our Lord, by Sinclair Ferguson. He's this, I think, Scottish theologian. But he comes out and says it in his book. He goes, Christianity does not lose its members because of outside pressures. It loses its members because of like literally missing the mark and shifting their mission away from Christ and living a Christ-centered life. Because Christ is an awesome dude. Like you read about him and you're like, this guy was cool. Yeah. Like he cared for everybody, and helped. He was focused on the poor, the widowed, like the injured, what do you have? The guys with the sores back in the day. Leprosy. Yeah. He cared just about the people that were hurting. Like I want to hang out with him. But then you look at the church and you go, ooh, you don't look anything like that guy. And so the church is just eating itself from the inside out.
A really good point. Maybe think about this. So one of the elements that we're doing is building a community where people can have healthy discussions about this. And we've had thousands of people reach out to us, and some is pretty heartbreaking. This one gentleman reached out to us, and he left the church very frustrated. His grandma tithed her 10% her entire career. Then she stops working. She gets sick, cancer. The institution, the church, was not there to help her, but she gave 10% her entire working career, and then gets sick. And that's just like, when you hear that kind of stuff, it's heartbreaking, because who's going to take care of people in that situation? Everyone kind of like points at the government, and the government's pointing to these nonprofits, which, to your point, was this whole thing started because they were embedded in the community, helping the community. And then if you look at like all these problems overseas in the government, so when I lived in North Carolina, I was at the JFK Special Warfare Center, I was at Fort Bragg, and the Army Special Operations School for Civil Affairs. And we would do, look at all the budget, all the line items. We'd go into all these different parts of the world to, win hearts and minds over. And we're spending all this money, and a lot of it is on like helping them out with some of their social issues. And you look at that and you're like, really, the government's, I think that this would be a great place for nonprofits to solve. But we get a lot of the like, oh, in the community, it's the nonprofits, that's why we created them. No, it's the government. It's the government's job to take care of that. And then meanwhile, you have all these people, you have all the resources in the world, but you have all these innocent people dying for what? It's sad.
Yeah.